Hey everyone, welcome to another deep dive.
Yeah?
Today we're going to be looking at a pretty provocative concept,
Oh, yeah.
dying with zero.
Okay.
Now, before you think this is all doom and gloom, let me tell you, it's actually about maximizing those joyful and fulfilling moments in your life.
Yeah.
And it's all based on Bill Perkins's book, Die with Zero.
Okay.
And we've got an expert here with us today to kind of help us connect the financial and the philosophical pieces of this whole puzzle.
Yeah.
So are you ready to kind of unpack this idea?
I'm ready.
All right.
What I think is so interesting about Perkins' approach to this is that he looks at life as an optimization problem.
Oh, wow.
He's an engineer and a trader, so he brings this really unique perspective to how he views life and how we should be planning for it.
And he really throws all of the typical advice out the window.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the guy who was called an idiot by his boss for saving money in his 20s,
Wow.
which is such a bold stance, especially in the world of personal finance.
Yeah, it really is counterintuitive.
Yeah.
But what Perkins is saying is that our early years, those are the most important years to invest in experiences. Your earning potential is likely going to go up throughout your career. So why would you just be hoarding all those early dollars when you can invest them in moments and memories that will shape who you are?
So instead of just mindlessly trying to accumulate wealth, it's about making these conscious choices to have experiences that will enrich your life.
Right.
And this isn't about being reckless with your spending, is it?
No, not at all.
It's about understanding that life is finite
Right.
and we can't take it with us.
Exactly. And I think one of the things that Perkins does so well in the book is he uses an anecdote about this couple, and they're facing a terminal illness.
Oh, wow.
And they realize that delaying gratification had cost them all these precious moments that they could have been having and enjoying together. It's a really powerful reminder that time is the most valuable thing we have,
Yeah.
and we should be using it wisely.
Yeah. That's a powerful reminder to really kind of seize the day and make the most of it. But how does this investing in experiences thing actually work in practice? I mean, does it mean just throwing financial caution to the wind?
Absolutely not. It's actually quite the opposite.
Okay.
Perkins has this concept that he calls memory dividends.
Okay.
And these are the long-lasting benefits that we get from experiences even after the experience itself has happened. You think back to that amazing trip that you took, or that concert that just blew you away, or those times you spent just hanging out with loved ones.
Yeah.
Those memories, they stick with us and they shape our lives.
I am totally with you there.
Yeah.
I still think back to this crazy road trip that I took with my friends
Yeah.
years ago.
Uh-huh.
We were on a really tight budget. But the laughter and the unexpected detours and all the joy that we experienced, those memories are priceless.
Exactly. And those experiences, they continue to kind of weave their way into our personal stories, and they influence who we become and how we see the world.
That makes sense.
Perkins even talks about his friend Jason, who went backpacking across Europe in his 20s, and he barely had 2 pennies to rub together. He even had to borrow money from a loan shark to make it happen.
Oh, wow. Talk about commitment.
Right.
That's really going all in on the experience.
Definitely. And did Jason ever regret it?
I mean, especially with all that financial risk he was taking.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not one bit. The things that he experienced during that trip had such a profound impact on his life.
Oh, wow.
It broadened his worldview, it helped him become more independent, and it just ignited this passion for travel in him that he still has to this day. He wouldn't trade those memories for anything.
So investing in yourself in your 20s really can have this ripple effect throughout your life. Well, what about the other side of that coin?
Okay.
Are there risks to playing it too safe and holding on too tightly to these more traditional ways of saving?
That's a great question. And Perkins actually argues that delaying gratification can actually be a big problem. He talks about this billionaire hedge fund manager, John Arnold, who worked nonstop and kept pushing off living the good life until he made more money.
But wouldn't you think that a billionaire would have plenty of time and opportunity to enjoy life?
Yeah, you'd think.
What was holding him back?
I think it's that illusion that we all have, that we have an unlimited amount of time. We tell ourselves, oh, I'll enjoy life later once I've reached this financial goal, or I'll do it when I hit that milestone.
Okay.
But life doesn't always go according to plan.
And that's so true.
Yeah,
And the reality is that as we get older, our health declines,
absolutely.
and it makes it harder to enjoy certain things.
And that brings us to this whole idea of the golden years of retirement,
Yeah.
which Perkins dismantles pretty effectively in the book. He uses medical research and statistics to show how our bodies change over time. And we often hold on to this image of ourselves in our younger years, and we just don't want to accept the reality of aging.
I remember this one funny story in the book
Yeah.
about this guy who thought he could still swim like he did when he was younger.
Oh,
Let's just say he was in for a rude awakening.
that's a good reminder
Yeah.
that while taking care of our health is obviously important, we should also be spending money on experiences while we're still physically able to enjoy them. Don't just bank on having these endless carefree days in the future.
So if we shouldn't be focused on reaching those mythical golden years, how should we then be thinking about inheritance?
Okay.
I mean, leaving something for our children and our loved ones is important, right?
Well, Perkins challenges that conventional view.
Okay.
He says that giving to your kids and to charities while you're still alive actually has a far greater impact than leaving a large sum of money in your will after you're gone. After all, dead people can't experience the joy of giving, right?
That really hits home for me. I once gave my grandmother a lot of money thinking that I was helping her.
Yeah.
But I realized later that we could have used that money to share some really special experiences together.
Exactly. Imagine the joy and the memories you could create by experiencing something together instead of just handing over a check. Timing is everything, too.
Yeah.
Perkins tells this story about Virginia Collin, who received a large inheritance when she was 49 after struggling financially for years.
Oh, wow.
It changed her life, but she couldn't help but wonder about all the missed opportunities if she had gotten that money earlier.
It really makes you think about giving at the right time. Imagine getting an inheritance when you're starting a family or going back to school or starting a business
Right.
versus getting it when you're close to retirement.
Yeah.
It just doesn't have the same impact. So it's not just about dying with zero, but it's also about being strategic with your giving while you're alive. But how do you find that balance between spending and saving?
Yeah.
It feels like this constant struggle.
It is a challenge. Perkins says that those fixed spending and saving ratios, like the 50-30-20 rule, they just aren't enough. Our
Yeah.
financial priorities, they change as we get older, as our health changes, as our income fluctuates. What works for you in your 20s might not make sense when you're in your 50s.
I get that.
Mm.
When I was younger, I tried to stick to those strict budgeting rules,
Mm-hmm.
but it felt so limiting and stressful. It just wasn't fun.
Yeah, and you're missing the whole point of financial freedom.
Exactly.
Right. And to help figure out if you should spend money now or save for maybe even better experience in the future, Perkins introduces this idea of a personal interest rate.
Okay, now I'm intrigued. Tell me more.
So it's basically a way to figure out how to balance instant gratification versus delayed gratification.
Oh.
Let's say you're deciding between a short weekend trip now
Okay.
or saving up for a longer, more luxurious trip in a few years. How do you weigh the enjoyment you'd get from each trip to figure out which one gives you more bang for your buck?
So if I think I'd enjoy that future trip way more than the shorter trip, now maybe it's worth waiting.
That's the idea. It's like analyzing how much enjoyment you'll get out of an experience, kind of like how you would analyze a financial investment.
So you're applying a financial mindset to your life experiences.
Right. You're weighing the value of an experience now
Yeah.
compared to what it could be worth later on, taking into account your health, your changing interests, and the other things you could be doing instead.
This is really interesting. It's like we're shifting our mindset from just focusing on money to thinking about how to actually use our resources to have the most fulfilling life possible. But how do we factor in those inevitable limitations,
Yeah.
like declining health or limited resources?
Yeah.
It feels like there's this push and pull between what we want to do and what we're actually capable of doing.
Perkins definitely acknowledges those limitations,
Yeah.
but he encourages us to be proactive about it. He suggests doing health audits to assess your physical and mental well-being
Okay.
and adjust how you approach experiences based on that.
So we're taking stock of what we're capable of doing right now and identifying those experiences that are still available to us and that we can still really enjoy.
Exactly. What would that look like in practice?
Yeah. Give me some examples.
Well, maybe instead of doing intense mountain hikes,
Uh-huh.
you switch to more relaxed nature walks.
Okay.
Or instead of trying to stand in a crowded mosh pit at a concert,
Yeah.
you go to one where you have assigned seats.
Makes sense.
It's about finding ways to adapt and still do the things you're passionate about without pushing yourself beyond your limits.
So we're embracing our limitations as part of life's journey instead of seeing them as these huge roadblocks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, even as our physical abilities change,
Yeah.
there are still so many ways to experience the world.
I love that.
Yeah.
Perkins talks about activities and hobbies that we can enjoy throughout our lives.
Right.
Things like reading, listening to music, picking up new skills, or connecting with friends and family.
Absolutely. All of those things can bring us comfort, intellectual stimulation, and a sense of purpose. no matter how old we are or what our physical limitations might be. It's like building this solid foundation for a life that stays rich and fulfilling, even as things around us change.
That's such a good point. It's about finding those activities that really feed our souls and bring us joy. But let's face it, life rarely goes exactly according to plan.
Right.
So how do we navigate those unexpected twists and turns and setbacks that inevitably come our way?
Well, Perkins encourages us to see those unexpected moments as opportunities. He says they can actually help us grow, become more resilient, and sometimes even lead us to unexpected discoveries.
I know exactly what you mean. I had this trip planned out perfectly, every detail mapped out, and then a family emergency happened,
Um,
and I had to cancel everything. It was so disappointing at first, but it really taught me to be flexible and roll with the punches.
yeah. And sometimes those detours can lead to even more rewarding experiences than what we had originally planned.
Like that saying, sometimes the wrong train takes you to the right station.
I love that. It's about being open to those unexpected opportunities that life throws our way.
So instead of clinging to our plans, it's about being adaptable and open to new possibilities.
Exactly. Perkins reminds us that life is a journey, not a destination. It's about embracing the unexpected learning from setbacks and finding those moments of joy in the unplanned detours.
Okay, I'm starting to see the wisdom in embracing the unknown.
Yeah.
But how do we make sure that our financial plan actually supports these goals?
Right.
There's so much pressure to follow these traditional guidelines for retirement savings.
There is, and Perkins actually says that those traditional approaches often lead to people underspending and not making the most of their resources.
It's like we're so focused on saving for the future that we forget to actually enjoy the present. We're so busy preparing for a rainy day that we forget to dance in the sunshine.
Exactly. Perkins suggests that we need a total paradigm shift.
Okay.
We need to start thinking about strategically spending down our wealth to maximize our fulfillment throughout our lives.
Okay, I'll be honest. This is where my brain starts to short circuit. It feels so counterintuitive to think about depleting our savings instead of constantly trying to grow them.
It does go against everything we've been taught.
Yeah. How do we even begin to reconcile that with the need for financial security?
Well, remember, the goal is to die with zero, not to leave behind a mountain of unspent money. It's about seeing your wealth as a tool to fuel those experiences, not as the end goal in itself. And Perkins introduces this idea of a net worth burn rate,
Okay.
which is the rate at which we should be spending down our savings to ideally hit zero by the end of our lives.
That sounds intriguing, but also a little bit intimidating.
Yeah.
How do you even begin to calculate that?
Well, it takes into account your age, your life expectancy, your anticipated expenses, and what kind of returns you're getting on your investments.
Yeah.
You need to include your essential living costs like housing, healthcare, and basic necessities,
Okay.
but also make sure to allocate a big chunk of your resources to those fulfilling experiences that we've been talking about.
So it's not about spending recklessly,
Yeah.
but about making intentional choices with our money to maximize our overall happiness and satisfaction.
Yeah.
It's finding that sweet spot between enjoying life now and making sure we have enough to support ourselves in the future.
Exactly. And it's an ongoing process of assessing, adjusting, and course correcting as our circumstances change. If our health takes a turn or our income fluctuates or our priorities shift, we need to be flexible and adapt our burn rate accordingly.
This whole idea of a net worth burn rate feels really empowering.
It is.
It's like we're taking control of our finances instead of letting them control us.
Right. It's about making your financial plan work for you and your values and goals instead of blindly following some predetermined path.
It's about saying, I'm not going to let fear or societal expectations dictate how I live my life. But how do you find that balance
Yeah.
between enjoying today and knowing that you'll be okay in the future? How do we reconcile this with all the unexpected things that life throws our way?
Well, that's where Perkins's idea of time buckets comes in. It's like a visual roadmap for your life, where you plan out all those meaningful experiences that you want to achieve at different stages.
Yeah, I remember that from the book. It's like dividing your life up into these 5 or 10-year chunks
Mm-hmm.
and then brainstorming all those things you want to do within each bucket.
Right. It encourages you to be proactive about your life and ask yourself, what do I want to accomplish in this phase of my life? It could be traveling the world, starting a family, launching that dream business you've always had, or even learning a completely new skill.
And as you're filling in those buckets, you start to realize that some things are better suited for certain ages.
Yeah.
Some experiences are just more enjoyable when you're younger and you have more energy and fewer responsibilities.
Absolutely. Backpacking through Southeast Asia might be perfect for your 20s, while a relaxing culinary tour through Europe could be ideal for your 40s. And while family time is always great, The dynamic changes as your kids get older.
Yeah, I wouldn't try to take a cross-country road trip with a toddler right now, but maybe when my kids are a bit older, that would be an awesome adventure.
Right.
But some things, like quality time with loved ones, that's timeless. That transcends age.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So how would we adapt these time buckets as we get older?
Yeah. What are some of the things people in their 50s, 60s, and beyond should be thinking about?
Well, as you age, your health and your energy levels, they might change.
Yeah.
And that might mean you have to adjust your bucket list a bit.
Okay.
Maybe those physically demanding adventures become more leisurely pursuits.
Hmm.
Or maybe you focus more on those experiences that build deeper connections and leave a lasting legacy.
So instead of climbing Mount Everest, maybe it's hiking a local trail with your grandkids.
Right.
Or instead of starting a high-pressure business, maybe you mentor young entrepreneurs and share all that wisdom you've gained over the years.
Exactly. Perkins also talks about this idea of recognizing your net worth peak, which isn't about having a certain amount of money, but more about figuring out when you're in the best position to really enjoy those experiences based on your health and your resources.
So it's not about piling up as much cash as possible, but about timing our spending to match those years when we can really savor life.
Right. It challenges that traditional view of retirement where we put off enjoying life for decades and just hope that we'll still be healthy enough to enjoy it when we finally get there.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. Perkins is basically telling us to think about our health and the experiences we want to have when deciding when to start using our savings.
Exactly. It's about aligning your financial plan with your life goals instead of blindly following some arbitrary retirement age.
This is a pretty radical concept.
Yeah,
It goes against everything we've been taught about saving for retirement.
it does.
But it makes you think, if we wait too long to start enjoying life, we might miss out on those years when we're most able to really immerse ourselves in those experiences.
Exactly. And remember, your health isn't the only thing to consider.
Right.
Your interests, your passions, your personal goals, all of those play a role in determining your optimal spending timeline. You need a plan that works for your individual circumstances and aspirations, not just a one-size-fits-all approach.
Okay, it's all starting to click now. But how do we know when to be bold and take risks versus when to play it safe?
Right?
There's a fine line between calculated risks and being reckless.
There is. Perkins is all about being bold, especially when you're younger. He uses Mark Cuban as an example and talks about how his early business ventures and the risks he took ultimately led to his massive success.
Yeah, Cuban's story is amazing. He didn't start out wealthy, but he had that entrepreneurial spirit, and he wasn't afraid to embrace uncertainty.
And those experiences, they taught him so much about resilience, adaptability, and recognizing opportunities.
Mhm.
Perkins talks about this concept of asymmetric risk, where the potential rewards far outweigh the potential downsides, especially when you're young and have time to bounce back from setbacks.
So even if those early ventures don't work out, the things you learn and the experiences you gain can shape your future in unexpected ways.
Right. It's about analyzing those fears and figuring out what it's costing you to not take action.
What opportunities are we missing out on by always playing it safe?
Exactly. Inaction is a risk in itself. If we shy away from challenges and growth opportunities, we might end up settling for a life that isn't as fulfilling as it could be.
That's a powerful way to think about it. It makes you wonder, what dreams have I been putting on hold out of fear?
Exactly. It's about shifting our mindset from fear to possibility, from scarcity to abundance.
And recognizing that we have more to gain than to lose by taking those calculated risks.
Precisely. And this mindset shift, it doesn't just apply to finances, it applies to our experiences too. It's about embracing the unknown with courage and curiosity, recognizing that growth and fulfillment often lie outside our comfort zones.
So instead of viewing setbacks as failures, we should see them as stepping stones, as chances to learn, adapt, and become stronger and wiser.
Exactly. And this brings us back to that idea of the experience portfolio we talked about earlier. Just like a diversified financial portfolio helps to reduce risk, a wide range of experiences helps us to maximize fulfillment and minimize regret.
I see how it all ties together. It's like we're creating this blueprint for a life that's full of experiences, meaning, and purpose. But how do we even know where to start?
Right.
There's so many possibilities out there.
Perkins suggests figuring out your personal interest rate for experiences.
Okay.
Just like we evaluate financial investments based on their potential return, we can do the same for experiences by asking ourselves, does this really excite me? Does it align with my values? Will it create lasting memories and truly enrich my life?
So those experiences with a high personal interest rate are the ones we should prioritize, even if it means making some financial sacrifices or adjustments to our lifestyle.
Exactly. You're investing in the moments that truly resonate with you and have the power to shape who you become.
And remember, your personal interest rate might change over time
It does.
as your priorities and circumstances change.
Absolutely. What was a must-have experience in your 20s might not be as appealing when you're in your 50s. It's about staying in tune with what you truly desire and making choices that reflect your current needs and aspirations.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense. My priorities have definitely changed over the years. I used to be all about those adrenaline-pumping adventures, but now I crave peace, connection with nature, and experiences that help me grow as a person. It's about listening to your inner voice and realizing that personal growth is a continuous journey.
And that journey might involve revisiting past experiences or exploring new ones. Perkins is a big advocate for lifelong learning and encourages us to always be expanding our horizons. He even suggests creating a regret minimization framework to figure out those things we might regret not doing and then actually taking action to make them happen.
So we're acknowledging those what-ifs and then finding ways to turn them into reality.
Exactly. You're being proactive and taking control of your life instead of just letting it pass you by.
But how do we balance all of this with the practical realities of getting older and the limitations that come with that?
Remember those health audits we talked about earlier?
Um,
Those become even more important as we age. It's about honestly assessing our physical and cognitive capabilities and adjusting how we approach experiences based on that. It might mean modifying activities to suit our current abilities or finding new passions that align with our evolving limitations.
so maybe instead of running a marathon, you join a walking group or take up yoga.
Right.
Or instead of traveling to far-off destinations, you explore local museums or attend cultural events in your own city.
Exactly. It's about finding ways to continue living life to the fullest, no matter your age or physical limitations. It's about celebrating those experiences that bring you joy, even as your circumstances change.
This is such a refreshing way to think about aging. It's not about decline, it's about evolution. It's about discovering new possibilities and passions. But what about the financial side of things?
Right.
How do we make sure that our finances are supporting this evolving approach to life?
Perkins reminds us that our financial plan should be a living document, something that changes as our needs and aspirations change. It's not about setting a strict budget and never straying from it.
Uh-huh.
It's about being flexible and adjusting our spending as our priorities shift.
So as our health, our interests, and our life circumstances change, our financial plan should change right along with them.
Exactly. Be proactive and make adjustments as needed instead of clinging to an outdated approach.
Okay, but how do you actually make this shift?
Well, Perkins says it all starts with cultivating a mindset of gratitude.
I love that gratitude is so powerful. It helps us appreciate those simple everyday moments that we often take for granted.
Exactly. It's about savoring the present instead of always wanting more. And that appreciation for the present can also extend to our past experiences.
That's interesting. How so?
Well, Perkins encourages us to think back on those moments that have shaped us, those experiences that have brought us joy, and those challenges that have helped us grow. It's about recognizing how rich our journey has been, even with all its imperfections.
So instead of dwelling on regrets, it's about embracing the lessons we've learned and seeing how those experiences have made us who we are today. It's about appreciating the tapestry of our lives with all its intricate details and vibrant colors. But what about those times when life throws us a curveball?
Right.
When we're facing hardship setbacks or even loss? How does this die with zero philosophy apply in those situations?
Perkins acknowledges that life has its ups and downs, and he emphasizes the importance of being resilient. He reminds us that even when things are tough, we have the ability to adapt, learn, and find meaning. He encourages us to lean on our support systems,
Yeah.
those trusted friends and loved ones who can offer comfort, guidance, and just a listening ear.
That's so important. We don't have to go through tough times alone. Connecting with others, sharing our struggles, and receiving support can be incredibly healing.
Absolutely. And even when we're dealing with loss, Perkins reminds us that we can find comfort in the memories we've made, the love we've shared, and the positive impact we've had on others.
So it's about honoring those we've lost by continuing to live our lives with intention, purpose, and a deep appreciation for the time we have.
Exactly. It's about recognizing that life is a precious gift and that we should make the most of every moment. But how do we ensure that our impact continues even after we're gone?
Yeah, what about the legacy we leave behind?
Perkins says our legacy isn't just about the money we leave behind, but it's about the impact we have on the world and the people around us. It's about those memories we create, the relationships we build, and the ways we contribute to our communities.
So true wealth goes way beyond our bank accounts. It's about those intangible things like love, connection, purpose, and the positive difference we make in the lives of others. It's about living a life that truly matters both to ourselves and to the world.
Exactly. And Perkins argues that we don't need to wait until we're gone to start making a difference. We can start right now by being generous in every way possible.
And that generosity doesn't have to be just about money, does it?
No, not at all. It can be about sharing our time, our skills, and our knowledge with others. It can be mentoring young people, volunteering in our communities, or just lending a hand to someone in need.
It's about recognizing that we all have something valuable to offer no matter how old we are or how much money we have. It's about understanding that we're all connected and that even small acts of kindness can have a huge impact.
Exactly. And as we cultivate that spirit of generosity, we start to shift our focus from what we lack to what we can give. And that shift in perspective can be incredibly empowering.
So we all have the power to make a difference regardless of our circumstances.
Yeah.
It's about embracing our unique gifts and using them to create something positive. It's about living a life that's not only fulfilling for ourselves, but also contributes to the well-being of others.
And as we go on this journey of intentional living and giving, it's important to face our fears and take those calculated risks. Perkins reminds us that staying in our comfort zones can lead to stagnation and missed opportunities.
He's a big believer in embracing discomfort, especially when we're younger and have more time to recover from setbacks.
Exactly. He uses the analogy of asymmetric risk, where the potential rewards are much greater than the potential downsides. This is especially true when we're young and have more time to bounce back if things don't go as planned.
So even if things don't work out, the experience and knowledge gained can be incredibly valuable.
Right. And by taking those calculated risks, we push ourselves beyond our limits and discover hidden potential. We learn to be resilient, adaptable, and gain a new sense of confidence that can benefit us in all areas of life.
And this willingness to embrace discomfort and take risks can extend beyond just business and finances.
Absolutely. It can apply to relationships, creative pursuits, personal growth, anything where we want to challenge ourselves and grow.
It's about understanding that true growth happens when we step outside of our comfort zones and explore the unknown.
Exactly.
Huh.
It's about approaching the unknown with courage and curiosity, knowing that even if we stumble, we'll learn and grow from the experience.
This is so inspiring. It's about recognizing that we have the power to create the life we want to pursue our passions and to build a legacy that lasts.
And Perkins suggests starting small. It's not about making drastic changes overnight, but about gradually incorporating these principles into your life.
So it's about making small but meaningful changes that add up over time.
Exactly. And as we make those shifts, we'll start to feel the difference. We'll be more present, more joyful, and more engaged with the world around us. We'll have a renewed sense of purpose and feel more connected to our values.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. I'm feeling really motivated to start putting these ideas into action.
I'm glad to hear that. And remember, it's a journey, not a destination. There will be ups and downs, moments of doubt, and times when you question your choices. But as long as you stay true to your values, your passions, and your vision for a fulfilling life, you'll be able to navigate those challenges and come out stronger on the other side.
Thank you so much for sharing your insights. This conversation has been a real gift.
You're welcome. It's been my pleasure.
I feel empowered to take control of my life, my finances, and my legacy, and to start living with more intention, purpose, and joy.
That's great to hear. Remember, the power to create a life you love lies within you. Embrace the journey, celebrate the small wins, and never stop chasing those experiences that light you up.
And to all our listeners out there, thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Die with Zero. We hope this conversation has inspired you to live your life to the fullest without regrets. And to help you on that journey, we put together a 10-point summary of the key takeaways from Bill Perkins' book. So here they are.
Number 1, life is an optimization problem. Maximize experiences, not just money. Number 2, invest in experiences early. They pay memory dividends. Number 3, embrace calculated risks, especially when you're young. The potential upside outweighs the potential downside. Number 4, give generously while you're alive. The impact is greater than leaving an inheritance. Number 5, challenge traditional retirement planning. It often leads to underspending and regret.
Number 6, determine your net worth peak. The optimal time to start spending down savings is not a fixed age, but a point when your resources and ability to enjoy experiences align. Number 7, adjust your spending-saving ratio. Needs and circumstances change over time, so flexibility is key. Number 8, utilize time buckets. Plan meaningful experiences for each stage of your life. Number 9, calculate your personal interest rate for experiences. Evaluate the trade-off between immediate and delayed gratification to make informed choices. And number 10, don't underestimate the cost of inaction. What experiences are you missing out on by playing it safe?
We hope these insights encourage you to live a life filled with purpose, passion, and a deep appreciation for time.
Until next time, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep living with intention.
Thanks for listening.